we drove up from Manitoulin Island this morning, and I just had a baby about 10 weeks ago. So we're learning how to be on the road with a little baby. Sometimes we'll make a plan, and then she'll set a whole new plan. We'll say, okay, we're going to feed her at this time, but then she wants to eat at this time. So it's a little tricky being on the road with a new baby, but we're figuring it out. So sorry about that, guys. But I'm happy to be here. So yeah, let's do this.
On behalf of ISU, we want to give this to you and thank you for coming to speak with us today.
Much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
We are grateful that you came to speak with us and talk to us about just your life on the road and stuff like that.
Thank you, sweetie. Thank you so much. Good to see you. Thank you. Thank you. All righty. So, let's do this. Who would like to ask a question?
Can you tell us about the song you made for the missing and murdered Aboriginal woman?
Would you like me to talk on this mic or yeah? Okay. All righty. Here we go. All right. So my song, Pray Sister Pray, we did a music video for this song. It's up on YouTube. You could check it out at any time. But this was a song that, when everything was rising up, all the information about missing and murdered Aboriginal women across Canada, a lot of people were writing songs, writing music, trying to raise awareness. And for me, I didn't want to do it just to do it. I didn't want people to think that I was trying to monopolize off of something so horrible. So I kind of just waited. And then you see all these articles, when you're on Facebook and you're scrolling around and you see different news articles that people share, and I would see different reports of different girls missing. And for me, I do a lot of touring across Canada. So some of these girls go missing from communities that I've actually been to and places that I've actually visited before. So it started to really hit close to home for me. And there was one particular story, it kept coming up in my feed about one girl who went missing. And this was right around the time when I went to the Juno Awards. This was the year that I actually won my Juno Award. And the morning after, it came up in my Facebook feed that they had actually found her body. And I was really hopeful up to that point that she was going to turn up. And I didn't want her to turn up that way. And they said, and I read the article how they found her body and how she had a little kid. And that morning when I got picked up at the hotel, the lady who was giving me a ride to the airport, she when I got in the car, her little girl was sitting there and she said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I couldn't find a babysitter for my girl. Is that okay if she rides with us to the airport?" I said, "Yeah, of course." And this little girl was probably about 3 years old, around there, and she was around the same age as my niece was at that time. And I remember when I got in that car and I just read that article, and I remember just feeling this sudden wave of sadness and fear and anger. And I remember thinking that every time I go around to schools, like how I am here with you guys, or when I go around to Native communities, I always encourage kids, don't be afraid to go out there and explore the world. Chase your dreams, see places you've never been to before. Don't just confine yourself in one little town, one little box, because there's a big world out there and all kinds of people you can meet, all kinds of adventures out there. And this was the first time in my life where I remember thinking, I don't want my niece to leave the reserve. I don't want these other little Native girls to leave their reserves because I'm afraid of what was going to happen to them. And this is the first time I ever felt like I want to discourage people from leaving where they're from. And I remember looking at that little girl beside me, and the lady who was giving me a ride, she was a Native lady, and I looked at her little girl, and I remember feeling so scared for her. Like, I wish I could protect her, but I can't. I wish I could protect my niece. I wish I could protect all these little girls, but I can't. There's nothing I can do about that. And so I started writing this song, and it pretty much just came to me from that moment. And I wrote the song, and I felt like we put it on the album, and I felt like that wasn't enough. There wasn't raising enough awareness, because the only people who are going to hear the song are the people who buy my album. But I wanted to do more than that. And so we decided to do this music video, and I applied for several grants within Canada, and I didn't get approved. But this was really important to me. So I dug into my pocket, and I paid for the music video myself. And I went to my reserve, Wikwemekong, to shoot the video. And a lot of people within my community came together to make that music video happen. And I felt like, for me, I wasn't trying to get a song out on the radio. I wasn't trying to get it up on CMT or Much Music or wherever. For me, it was just about having this content on YouTube that could be shared by everybody who wants to share it. And at the beginning of the music video, we give a little bit of education about the background of missing and murdered Aboriginal women. And so that's what it was about for me, was raising awareness, educating people on something they don't know about. Because, you know, I live in Nashville, Tennessee, and when you talk about this subject down south in America, they don't know anything about it. They haven't heard about it. They know absolutely anything about it. So that's what it was all about. Was writing the song was just raising awareness. And I feel like me as an entertainer and being in the spotlight, I have a responsibility to do that, to educate people and to continue to raise awareness about issues that are important to me. So yeah, so that was the story behind that song.
What is life like as a professional singer?
Life as a professional singer, there's so many different sides to it. You know, I live on the road pretty much all the time, and if I'm not on the road, then I'm in the studio. Especially these days with the everything like Facebook and the internet and iTunes and stuff like that. You know, back in years ago when I was a kid, somebody would release an album, they would promote it for like a year or two, and then they start working on a new album. But now these days, people's attention span is a lot shorter. So when you release an album, people listen to it and then they're like, okay, when's your next album? And it's like, so these days we as artists, we have to work a lot more. So and we have to push out product a lot faster. I'm always on the road. I'm always in a van, in a bus, in a plane, in a hotel room. It's not always as glamorous as people think it is. You know, sometimes it's changing your clothes, driving a car, cruising down the highway. I do that a lot. I actually did that today. And, you know, different things like that. And sometimes I look back, and for me, you know, so much of my life in the past 8 years has been out of the window, looking out the window of a tour bus. And some of it is a blur. A lot of it is a blur. I try to remember as much of it as I can, but sometimes it happens so fast. Sometimes I'll have 5 appearances in one day, several interviews in one day, and then I have sound check, and then I have a show. And then sometimes people will say to me, you know, hey, do you remember when you came and did a show at this city or this town or whatever? And I'll be like, no, I don't. I really don't. I wish I could remember every town I've been to. And usually, and my dad and my brother actually used to be my bus drivers for about 8 years. And sometimes my dad will be like, hey, do you remember when we went to such and such town? And I'll be like, no. What venue was it? And he'll describe the place we played at. And I'll be like, oh, what did the dressing room look like? And then he'll describe the dressing room, and I'll be like, oh, okay, I remember. Because most times when I visit cities, I don't even have time to check out the towns I'm at, because I have to go to the radio, I have to go do TV, I have to do I have to do appearances, meeting all the sponsors for the show. And then sometimes when I've toured all over America, and to be honest, most of what I've seen of America is airports, hotels, and the dressing room at all the concert venues that I've been playing at. So, but at the same time, it's also really exciting. I get to check out a lot of cool shows. I've played at every major music festival in America and in Canada, and I meet a lot of great people. And for me, it doesn't matter if I don't remember the rest, because my favorite part is being on stage and having fun with the people out in the audience. So it's a little bit of everything.
When did you start singing?
I started singing as soon as I could make noise, literally. I started putting songs together when I was like 3 years old. And the first time I sang on stage, I was 6 years old. And my very first performance is actually on YouTube. You can actually find it on YouTube, and it was a Christmas song. What happened was, I used to be in choir at school, and my music teacher actually pulled me aside after class one day, and she said, I noticed that you really love to sing because you're really louder than everybody else in the choir. And she asked me, would you like to sing a song by yourself at the Christmas concert this year? And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I did love to sing, and I wasn't really shy at that time. And then so I said, okay. So we did the song, All I Want for Christmas Is My Two Front Teeth, because I didn't have my two front teeth at that time. And so I performed that song, and I can still remember the moment really clearly as I was singing the song. We came to a part in the song where it's kind of a funny part in the song, and everybody in the audience started laughing. And I remember I could feel their happiness. I could feel their energy. And it was just the coolest thing in the world. I remember thinking, oh, this is all I have to do to make people happy is sing. And I knew right then and there that I wanted to do this for the rest of my life. And from there, I just kept singing everywhere they would let me get up, whether it was open mic, variety night, karaoke night, talent show, talent contests. I was there. And then basically started getting paid to do what I do when I was 10 years old. And this is pretty much all I've ever done is sing.
How is your Anishinaabe heritage part of your life today?
It's a big part of my life today. It's always present, you know, in everything that I do, everything that in the music that I make, the choices that I make within my career. I've been at different points in my career where I've actually had, whether it was my manager or my record label or my agent telling me, you need to distance yourself from your people because you need to concentrate on the bigger picture. And that's the buying audience, the demographic of just everybody in America or everybody in Canada. And we can't always say that you can go visit this school or go visit this community or visit these people. And usually at that point is when I would let those people know that I don't think we could work together because my culture, my people, I'm connected to them no matter how far I go, no matter where I go. It's where I draw my strength from. I think that's one of the things that keeps me going the most is when I get down or when I get frustrated is I think about all the things that my people have been through in the lifetime, the fact that we're still here, our language is still here, our traditions, our culture, the fact that we still have all of those things reminds me of how resilient and how strong we are. And it inspires me that if they can go through that, then I can survive anything. And I just want to be a bigger part of that building, you know, and to inspire the next generation to go further than I ever went.
Why did you move to Sault Ste. Marie to go to high school?
I moved to Sault Ste. Marie to go to high school because, I grew up on Wikwemikong Reserve, and at that time there was no high school on our reserve. There is one there now. We had one on the island, but the thing was we had to take a school bus to that high school every day. It's an hour drive each way. And when I found out that they didn't have one single music class or nothing, there was no music program or anything, that's when I started plotting my escape. I started asking around. I would go to my guidance counselor at school and I would ask her, where's the closest high school that has a good music program? Because I wanted to learn more. I had learned everything that I could, as much as I possibly could, from all the local musicians, all the local music teachers. And so I found Cora Collegiate. My guidance counselor found it for me, and she said they have a great music programmer. They teach guitar, piano, vocal, and they even had their own recording studio at that time. I don't know if they still do, but they did at that time. And then so I approached my community about funding me so that I could go off to school. And for me, it was just all about being a better musician, learning as much as I possibly could. And so I started going to Cora, and I had such immense support there. And for me, it was the best move that I ever made because the schools that I grew up in, I used to get bullied a lot for singing. If I was on TV or on the radio, I would come into school the next day and nobody would talk to me. And if they did, they were usually trying to beat me up. So I got really tough, and I also got really stubborn. I learned how not to really care what anybody thinks about me. People can make fun all they want, and I don't really care. I just do what I want, and I do what makes me happy. And when I went to Cora Collegiate, I found a whole different set of kids who supported me and clapped when I would sing and high-fived me and believed in me. And so that was why I moved to Sault Ste. Marie.
Is there anything you would like to say that we haven't asked you about?
Just that I hope that you guys that this is a really, really important time in your guys' life. This is, I feel like the age you guys are at right now is you guys are at a crossroad where you guys have a choice to either do this or do that. You either do something productive with your life or you do something destructive, you know, and right now the most important thing in your life might seem like just fitting in and trying to basically fit in. And but remember that right now is only temporary. So start making choices right now in your life that'll prepare you for your future, so that when you're my age, you won't look back and go, oh crap, I wish I would have did this, or I wish I would have did that, or I wish I didn't do this, or I wish I didn't do that. Don't worry as much about as fitting in, because 15 years down the road, I guarantee you guys aren't even going to know each other, because I don't know any of the kids I went to school when I was your age. Like, I only know like 3 people still. So, don't worry about impressing the people around you. Impress yourself. Do what makes you happy.
What is your baby's name?
My baby's name is Shawanda, which is it's Ojibwe for first light of a new day, and it's actually the original spelling of my last name, because that was the original spelling before we got assimilated with the schools and everything, and they changed my name to Shawanda many, many years ago, generations ago. And so because my baby is taking her daddy's last name, so it was important for him to give her my family name, so she's still connected to her roots and she'll always know where she comes from. And I want it to be undeniable when she's out there in the world. If I want people to know who she is and where she comes from, and this is actually the spelling of her last name, and the son. And my husband also wanted to call her that because my husband's older than me, and we've already raised 2 kids, because we actually, he had 2 kids when I met him. He was a single dad, and so I helped him raise those kids, and they became my kids. And so they're now grown and gone. They moved out a year and a half ago. They're 23 and 21. And so this is kind of like starting over for us. So yeah, so that's her name.
Have you ever faced racism in your singing career?
Yes, I've faced a lot of racism in my singing career throughout the years. For me, it's all the way back as far as when I first started, even right here in Sault Ste. Marie, even though I came across a lot of people who were very supportive here, I also came across people who weren't supportive. And growing up through high school, once in a while, I faced it. And sometimes I didn't get picked for a part in a musical because they said, oh, well, the character is not Native American. So that would happen to me sometimes. Or I would be in a singing contest and people wouldn't like me because of who I was. And then when I first moved to Nashville, I was 16 years old, actually, when I first moved to Nashville. And at that time, I didn't know you had to have a manager who sets appointments for you. So I would just go on down Music Row. In Nashville, there's a place called Music Row. And it's about a few streets of nothing but record labels, recording studios, managers, publishers, producers, and they all have their offices around. And I would just go up and down that street and knock on doors and be like, hi, I'm Crystal Shawanda. I'm from Canada, and I'm a country music singer. And sometimes people would let me come in and play for them, and sometimes they would say, oh, we don't have time for you. And but one time I was sitting in the lobby, and I was trying to get in to meet somebody, and this guy is walking in, and he said, you know what, I got a few minutes. Come on in, you can sing me a couple songs. And he introduced himself, and I knew his name right away. I was very obsessed with music, so when I would buy an album, I would look at all the liner notes, and I would see who wrote the songs, who were the musicians, who produced it, who is the executive producer, who is the publisher. I was kind of a geek about that stuff. I wanted to know everything about the business side. And so when he introduced himself to me, I knew exactly who he was. He had produced several of my favorite albums growing up. And so I went into his office, I sang a couple songs for him, and afterwards he just sat there just staring at me, and he said, your voice is amazing. You have this huge, huge voice. He said, but I don't know what to do with you. I wouldn't know how to market you. He said, Native Americans within country music, I don't know if it really makes sense. I don't know if the country music audience would even accept you. And so I kind of sat there, and I was only 16, so I was always trying to be a big girl, So I never wanted to cry. There's no crying in the music business. And so I kind of just sat there and I said, okay, thank you so much for your time. I picked up my guitar and I left. And then I was kind of in a daze for a couple months. And then I decided that, you know what, maybe singing isn't for me. So I packed up and I moved back home to Canada. And I decided that I was going to quit singing and quit music. And then I kind of went down a whole different path from there. I'm going to be honest with you guys, because if I'm not honest with you guys, then I'm not doing you any favors. I might as well not be here if I'm not going to be honest with you. So I don't want to make it seem like I always made all the right choices and that I was always good, because I wasn't, and I didn't always make the best choices. So when I moved back home, I kind of went down a whole different path, a very self-destructive path. I started making bad choices. I started hanging out with people who I never hung out with before. I started doing things, you know, kind of partying, going down that whole lifestyle. And for me, at the time, I didn't realize what I was doing. Basically, what I was doing was I was trying to kill my dream, because I felt like if I shut it down, then nobody could take it away from me, because I took it away from myself. But I had people within my community who didn't give up on me, and so they'd always come up to me and they'd be like, you have this amazing voice. You have what I wish I had. And people would tell me, you have a ticket out of here. Why don't you use it? And I would tell them, because you don't know what it's like out there. You don't know how hard it is. You don't know what I faced, what I went through. And they'd be like, so what? Just go and try again. Keep trying. Because if I had what you had, I would keep trying. I would keep going back. And one day I finally realized, because no matter what I did, I kept ending up back on a stage, back in front of a microphone. Whether it was at a bar or at a party, I was still on stage singing. You know, I couldn't get away from who I was, because that's who I am. And that's when I realized what was really bothering me was that when I sat down with that guy and he said that to me, I realized what was really bothering me was if he told me I was out of tune, I could have went and got voice lessons. If he said that he didn't like my hair, I could have went and got a different hairstyle. But there was nothing that I could do about the color of my skin, nor did I want to. And so that's when I decided to pack up my truck and move back to Nashville and prove him wrong. And I did. I ended up getting signed to the biggest record label in the world, RCA Records. And we released a single to country music radio, and it got in the top 15 in America, which I have to mention that no Canadian country music artist has charted in America since me. So all the artists you hear on Canadian country radio, they haven't charted in America. And I did that, though. And I have to point that out because it's really hard to make it in the American music scene. If you want to get a hit song in Canada, you only have to visit about a handful of radio stations. If you want a hit song in America, you have to visit over 200 radio stations, and they have to all like you. That's really hard to do. And then I released my album, and it charted in the top 20 on the Billboard charts, which is the official charts. And I released an album in stores all across America. And that was really important for me because from that moment on, if any other Native kid ever goes to Nashville and says, I want to be a country music singer, no one else can ever say, no, you can't. Native Americans can't make it in country music, because every kid after that can say, yes, I can, because Crystal Shawanda did it. And that's what it was about for me. That's what kept me going every time I wanted to give up, is because it's way big. What I'm doing is way bigger than me. I'm not trying to make myself a star. I'm trying to inspire the next generation to take it further than I ever did. Blow me away, kick my butt, beat my records. I want you to. I want somebody to do it, because it's all about me passing that torch to the next generation. So, yeah, so in a nutshell, yes, I've experienced a lot of racism in the music industry. Alrighty, so I'm going to do a new song for you guys that's on my newest album. And this just kind of touches on what you guys are asking about racism within the music industry. And this is just a song about not judging a book by its cover. This is called Skin Deep. I've been around a while, I know wrong from right. I learned a long time ago, things ain't always black and white. Just like you can't judge a book by the cover, we all need to be careful how we treat one another. Skin deep, your skin deep, you're underneath, we're all the same. Oh, your skin deep, your skin deep, underneath, we're all the same. We all are the same. A lady from the city, she never called me by my name. She said, girl, do this and girl, do that, but I never once complained. I knew she had a good heart, but she just didn't understand that I needed to be treated just like any other woman. Oh, your skin deep, your skin deep, underneath, we're all the same. Oh, your skin deep, your skin deep, oh, underneath, yeah, we're all the same. We all are the same. I sat my little child down when he was old enough to know. I said, out there in this big wide world, you're gonna meet all kinds of folks. I said, son, it all comes down to just one simple rule, that you treat everybody just the way you want them to treat you. Oh, your skin deep, your skin deep, underneath, oh, we're all the same. Oh, your skin deep, your skin deep, oh, underneath, yeah, we're all the same. We all are the same. Oh, we're all the same inside. Oh, deep down, deep down, deep down inside. Oh, skin deep, oh, skin deep, you're underneath, yeah, we're all the same. We all are the same. My backup singer. Thank you.